Yeah, the last. I mean, how long has it been since that game? It's almost been 2 weeks. Wow. Yeah, since the 15th, we came home and we talked about we watched like 60 or 70 something clips defensively of just good and bad, and you know looked at a lot of the mistakes that we made were very correctable, which I thought for us as a staff and for our players was encouraging. And when we forced Oklahoma State in the direction that we wanted to send them in, they'd either miss a shot or they turned it over. And two or three times when they made tough shots, you got to tip your cap and you got to get back. The problem was 75, 80% of the time, we allowed them to go left and they were able to finish. You look at Memphis. Memphis has got two or three guys on their roster that are noticeably quicker than anyone that Oklahoma State had. So, we've done a lot of work this week just on our closeouts, on our stance, our attention to detail, being more in gaps. And, I thought, since the 15th, we've had some really good practices, and I think we've gotten better in those areas. But at the same time, you're going against a scout team, that's not like Memphis, right? It's hard to replicate that speed and that quickness. So you really won't be able to see how much we've grown until we get out there and actually do it. I wish football could loan us some of those DBs that they have so they could close out and guard somebody and sit down and get in the stance. You kind of saw what they did to Arkansas, this past weekend. Unbelievable effort by our football team, in some really tough adversity, going out there and winning a big game. But I think our guys have responded well to it. It was just great to get exposed. That's what you want more than anything in these scrimmages, is to be exposed and to kind of see where some of your weaknesses are, and for our guys to see, all right, we got some things that we got to work on. So they've been good. They've been accountable. They've been locked in, and obviously just really excited for another great opportunity against another really good team on Thursday.
Outside of defense, what else are you guys kind of looking to improve from the first exhibition, the second exhibition, heading into the regular season?
Yeah, I mean, offensively, we talked about it last time we got together. Anytime we ran some semblance of offense and had a rebounding position, something good happened. So, limiting shots out of our offense where we don't have good rebounding position. But at the same time, you look at the game. I thought we took Todd was 4 for 16. There may have been one bad shot in the whole game. So I was really encouraged by a lot of the shots that he was taking and some of our other guys were taking. Just cleaning up our execution. Memphis is really going to get after us with ball pressure. I don't know if you guys watched the game last night, but I mean, they're up 15 on Arkansas, and it was a tale of two halves. They were a harder playing, more physical team the first 20, and then it kind of flipped on them in the second half. But their ball pressure is going to be, obviously something that'll bother us, and it's something that our guys have to do a good job of handling with composure and not letting it force some turnovers or force us to speed up. So executing our stuff, being more physical offensively, I think is something that we've really harped on over these last few weeks. Limiting our turnovers, which we did a good job of against Oklahoma State, but I think we shot it before we turned it over against Oklahoma State. So, just executing a little bit more. Then obviously, we missed 14 free throws. So spending some more time, in competitive free throw shooting in practice and stuff like that. So, transition defense is going to be really important like it was in the Oklahoma State game. A couple areas that, we got to spend more time on, which we have been, is just our under OB defense and our pressure defense. We didn't do a great job in either one of those areas against Oklahoma State. And I think, today specifically, we'll spend more time on that, just trying to get prepared for a really quick and a really, heavy guard-oriented Memphis group.
Steve, you talked about it before, but how valuable are these experiences with so many of you guys to be able to play in Oklahoma State and now Memphis, different styles, and just to get ready for a season?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not just valuable for our players, but it's valuable for us as coaches. There was a couple things that going into the game that we really hadn't discussed, and I talked to a few of my peers, and they all said the same things. Like, you wouldn't believe how many things when you get into a game like these scrimmages and these exhibitions, like, oh crap, we haven't even gone over this yet. So we're not the only ones, thankfully, that felt that way. So it's good for us as coaches to kind of learn about some of the things that we got to clean up, get a little more organized with. But our players, obviously, we get film against two really good teams before we have to play a really good Bethune-Cookman team. So it's huge to be able to learn from and get really good film against a really good team so early in the season. The fact that we're doing this in college now, I'm not sure why we weren't doing this years ago. It's so beneficial for everyone to be able to play against real competition, not the EA Sports All Stars. So. It's been great for our guys, and it's been great because you're able to watch like good basketball right now. Watching Kentucky and Purdue, watching Michigan, St. John's, watching Memphis, Arkansas, has been really good for us as coaches, but also for as players, kind of get prepared for the upcoming season.
Student Philip obviously arrives later. He's never played the American game, and it's a lot. I know it's a process. How have you seen him, especially these last couple weeks after getting some of that experience against Oklahoma State? How he's kind of starting to come on.
He's just got phenomenal instincts. Like he just understands like where the ball is at all times. Like shot would go up, you'd be amazed how many times Philip's hands would touch the ball. Now he's got to secure it with two hands a little more often and be strong with it. Because they're coming to poke it out, and obviously the speed and the quickness is an adjustment for him. But he picked up on everything we did very quickly. So his understanding of the game, his understanding of where he needs to be on the floor, where to find the open spots on the floor. We got to do a better job offensively of getting him the ball, in short roll situations because, in deep roll he's not going to be as good because he's 6'8". While he's a good athlete, he's going to be playing against 6'11" and 7 foot, giants in there. So we got to put him in better positions, specifically when he sets a ball screen, getting him to the short roll because he's a pretty good passer, or he could just go catch it and be quick and go rip and finish at the rim. So been really impressed with Philip. He's a guy that just wants to win basketball games and just wants to do what he can to help, but we got to do a better job of getting him more involved on the offensive end because he's doing everything that he needs to do, defensively, rebounding, and along those things to obviously continue to help us get better.
Coach, you spoke on Memphis speed and their guard play. What do you think of their front court with Aaron Bradshaw down there?
Yeah, I mean, obviously last year, they had some really good bigs. I think this year, Bradshaw, we had played against him at Kentucky and at Ohio State last year. He's just one of those guys that affects the game in so many areas. If you play off 1 foot, he's going to block your shot into the fifth row. He does a good job of catching the ball in the short roll and making plays out of it. Does a good job, obviously, rebounding the offensive glass. He had 5 fouls last night, only played 18 minutes. So, obviously, him not being in the game had a major impact on the outcome of that game, I thought. When he was in there, he was the only guy that didn't have a negative plus-minus last night. He was at a 0, which means when he was on the floor, they were hung in there with Arkansas. So, him not being in there hurt. And then, obviously – it's a team that has 15 new guys, so there's not one returner from last year. So Aaron being the one guy that has high major experience is obviously going to be really important for them. So same thing that Ohio State, when he was in the game, or there was some stat we had last year when he scored double digits, like their record compared to when he didn't score double digits, what it was, he impacts the game in a big way for him. So I think for Memphis to be successful, Bradshaw's got to play well, so he's got to be a key focal point for us. But then, you kind of saw last night they played a lot of guards, so that speed and quickness is going to be something that could be, bothersome. But luckily, we have a team this year that's pretty fast and pretty quick as well. So, just watching him grow, he's gotten better. He's comfortable with his 3 ball now. Hit a mid-range jump shot last night, went 4 for 4 from the line. So does a lot of things. He's just got to find a way to stay out of foul trouble for him.
I want to ask you about Murph. Looks like he's being able to do more in practice, and just those guys in the front court moving some dudes around Mecca, getting more play time. What do you think about those 5 specifically and how they've done in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean Murph's obviously just got to get healthy. That's the biggest thing. He's had some lingering injuries, really all summer. And, I know he's frustrated by it, but he's ready to obviously get back to full speed. He'll probably be on a minutes restriction on Thursday. Probably play a couple rotations, play 10 minutes maybe. We need him back for, obviously we're going to treat this game as if it counts, but for games that actually do count. So I don't see Murph playing more than 10 minutes. So obviously you're going to see more Mecca, at the 5. You're going to see Philip playing 4 and 5. You'll see Keyshawn Hall playing 3 and 4. Sebastian will play a lot of 4 for us. To be able to have 4 or 5 guys that you can rotate at those two positions is obviously important because depth at the big spot, is key. So, I'm excited for Mac to obviously play a little bit more to kind of show what he's capable of doing. And I'm just really looking forward to getting a healthy Murph back.